Gannon here, back at it again with another one of my Star Trek reviews. Today we're going to be reviewing the latest episode of Star Trek Lower Decks after last week's absolute snooze fest of an episode. I'm pretty sure it might have been Lower Decks' worst episode so far. If we're going to be honest, it's not like it was overly terrible or anything. It was just the most mundane, boring, uneventful episode of Lower Decks ever, to the point where they actually only released like 3 promotional images. That's how much original content, that's how much like the episode actually lacked any semblance of a cool story or just anything going on. Everything they did in that episode was so boring. But luckily in today's episode, they were saving all of that juice for this one, because in today's episode we get so many exciting things. We get like actual lore surrounding one of the cast members, a whopping amount of really fun references. Let's get right into it. This episode is the Rutherford episode. After 3 seasons, we're finally getting some concrete answers and explanations for what kind of person Rutherford used to be before he got his implant, and also some explanation as to why he has the implant in the first place. This episode starts off with Rutherford's implant just acting up. So Tendi decides to go and clear the memory cache to allow Rutherford to actually get a good night's rest. And then when he goes to get that good night's rest, an alter ego that lies dormant inside his implant takes over and steals his body, and then goes gallivanting around the ship, causing a whole bunch of problems with Rutherford's peers, like his, maybe not current girlfriend, maybe ex-girlfriend. The Trill girl pissed her right off, and then also went and did some dodgy stuff to Tendi over in the shuttle bay. That is when Tendi finally decided to give Dr. Tiana and Commander Shax a call to come and help Rutherford. Then when they finally get a hold of him, they induce a coma, and you kind of learn that this alter ego of Rutherford's is actually his old memories that have just been lying inside of his implant, trying to claw its way out and take over Rutherford's body for actually the last 3 seasons. So, this handful of episodes that we've gotten before where Rutherford's implant just acts up. He either loses his memories are altered, or he just kind of has some weird tics. These have all been Rutherford's past dormant memories trying to get out and kind of just take over and be the dominant personality. And now, because Tendi has done this little procedure, they finally have the opportunity to. But when Rutherford gets put into this coma, and we get a little bit of a flashback into his subconscious about actually what happened, what went down at Starfleet Academy, it turns out that Rutherford actually used to be quite the teenage dirtbag. He actually was a whole entirely different person when he was younger and going to Starfleet Academy. He had a completely different accent, for one thing. It's really cool and also a little bit strange seeing Rutherford without his implant being just a full, complete human. This Rutherford is completely different. He just loves thrills. He doesn't really care about rules. It doesn't seem like he really values his position at Starfleet very much. All he cares about is going and participating in these dangerous races, these highly illegal, dangerous races that occur into the neutral zone, which was very cool. We got a whole bunch of really cool stuff in this episode that I want to talk about, but I need to give this rundown because this is so important. Through the subconscious battle Rutherford has in his mind with his alter ego, learn so freaking much. You learn what kind of person Rutherford really used to be, and how there's such a stark contrast between what he used to be and what he is now, and how this growth has kind of been a positive change for him. Also learn that there is a higher up in Starfleet that actually put the implant on Rutherford to cover up this accident that happened, because basically what Rutherford did with the income that he got from these dangerous Romulan drag races, these illegal space races through the neutral zone, he used those funds to basically just build these really shisty, really dangerous ships Rutherford, the new one, the current Rutherford, described him as basically being like an impulse drive with a seat on it. So you could tell that this old Rutherford was kind of a knucklehead. He was kind of also just a shithead, is the best way I could describe him. He doesn't seem like a good person whatsoever. So it's almost like, in a sense, this old Rutherford has to die in order for the new Rutherford to, kind of regain control of his body and become the stronger personality. The way that Rutherford has to escape his mind, though, is by participating in one of these illegal Romulan races. Through the power of their subconscious, they're allowed to build whatever. And it's really cool that Rutherford builds the Delta Flyer from Voyager, one of the most explicit references in this episode, but there are a whole bunch of other ones. I can't wait to mention them. There's so many references and allusions in this episode that I am just salivating to mention. Beats him in the Delta Flyer race with the assistance of Tendi, Boimler, and Mariner, who he, creates with his subconscious. So with the help of his friends, he's actually able to outrun a Romulan warbird, and he's able to not only beat his other personality, but, kind of transport him over and almost save him. But at the end, he's not saved. He has to drift away and die so that this new Rutherford can appear. And he's just, like a newer current Rutherford that we all know and love. Mariner, an amazing arc. Both arcs this episode are very good. There's usually, like one arc that pertains to just one of the main cast, and then there's another arc that's usually like the combined 2 or 3 of the remaining main cast. But Boimler and Mariner were down on the planet below in this episode. This is a planet that they've apparently been to before, and they are at basically career day for aliens, and they are at the Starfleet booth trying to encourage other alien species to join Starfleet, and they're constantly beefing with this freelance archaeologist lady that's right next to him. Supposed to be just like a Vosh character, essentially. And then all of the other stands are awesome references to different Star Trek episodes and different Star Trek aliens. For one thing, the game aliens from the first episode of the first season of Deep Space Nine, where they trap Sisko and the main cast inside a game. Notoriously one of the worst episodes of Deep Space Nine of all time. And there's just this funny moment in this episode that I absolutely love. Boimler goes nutters because there's a bunch of these people at the other tables just coming over to take a shot at the Starfleet table and kind of take a jab at them and roast them. And one of them finally comes over. I think it's just, some scientists. You know how there's just scientists on another planet in the Star Trek universe. Comes over, steals the pip off of Boimler, and then just, throws it over and somebody squashes on it. Boimler cracks and then goes on this hilarious just breakdown, going around roasting all of the aliens. He goes over to the board game aliens, like, you just trap people in games! Stop trapping people in games! I loved it. It was extremely funny. This episode was a great mid-season episode. There was this awesome cutout of Spock and Kirk from the animated series, and it just looked exactly like them. It was so funny, this cardboard cutout that was by their stand. Also pretty sure I saw the Stargazer on their stand. Tendi had the plant in the cargo bay, the one that was from season 1 of the original series, that kind of just blows up in your face and then makes you very whimsical, and it makes you immune to radiation, and then it gives you really good health, but then it kind of traps you in this land of no responsibility, and then you're kind of a part of a plant cult. So, like the Collectors Guild from the TNG episode where Data gets stolen by the Collector. Pretty sure there was literally that guy who was in the episode who showed up to take a look at Data, and then Data was like, no, I'm not going to do anything for this guy to impress him. So yeah, that was really cool. At the end, Mariner actually gets a call from the freelance investigator that they're kind of beefing with the entire episode, and she finally admits that, yeah, I was just trying to cause a commotion so that I could go in and steal the Grand Negus' cane. But Mariner, I know your reputation, I know what you're all about. If you ever get bored of Starfleet, maybe consider going on a couple adventures with me, being just like an archaeologist out in the galaxy, because we have all the freedom in the world and we can do whatever we want. Part of me was like, okay, Mariner's like 25% interested just because this seems like totally up her alley, but just the way the interaction went between Mariner and this woman, 75% just leads me to believe that there's some sort of attraction there. Like, you're saving that contact on your pad because you think she's probably hot. Like, let's be honest here. All in all, yes, sensational episode. Compared to last one, super boring. This one's very great. I'm gonna give this one a 7 out of 10. I believe I gave the last episode a 4.5 out of 10. So, like, subpar, low standard. This one, super strong, a lot of references. I love that we actually know who Rutherford is now. We know what he used to be, and I'm very interested to find out who is going to be this higher up character. Another thing I really want to mention real quick, because I just remembered it, is really funny. There was this joke this episode where they made fun of the season 1 episode in the TNG near the end, where there was a whole bunch of space bugs that took over all of the Starfleet organization, and it was actually referenced in 2 episodes. And it is the most crazy, out there, outrageous episode of Star Trek ever. And they even made a joke themselves. They're like, that never happened. Actually, I'm pretty sure that did happen. It's like up for debate whether that can even be canon because of how outrageous an episode that is. 7 out of 10 for this episode. I enjoyed it significantly more than the last, but I just can't wait to see if we're going to see any reference to the crossover episode in the 3rd season, or if we're going to be exclusively seeing that in Strange New Worlds Season 2. What did you guys think about today's episode of Lower Decks? Lower Decks is always very fun. I look forward to it every week. It just gives me that little bit of Star Trek to keep me going, but honestly, I'm fiending for live action Star Trek. I need it, baby. I need Strange New World. I need Discovery. I need Picard. I need that new content. Please leave a comment down below. I read all comments. They're my favorite thing about YouTube. If you're enjoying any of the content that you see on the channel, I'd be very flattered if you were to subscribe. Once we reach 10K, I am going to dress up as a Star Trek Xenos, and I'm going to go out in public and do some funny stuff. I hope all of you guys have a good rest of your week. Live long and prosper.